She walked into court with fake tears. She forgot I built the cameras that recorded the real ones. My name is Rowan Hale, and I never imagined that the woman I married would study me like a project and twist my life into a story I didn't recognize. For months I was painted as a violent man, a controlling husband, a danger in my own home. People whispered about me. Some avoided me. Others looked at me like I was already guilty. What none of them knew was this. My wife, Liana, didn't just lie. She produced her lies, recorded them, trimmed them, performed them. And the night I discovered that truth, nothing in my house felt familiar anymore. It was 2:03 a.m. Cold blue light from my monitor spilled across the room as I scrolled through the security footage from the system I had installed. Dual backup, encrypted, every camera timestamped to the second. I originally set it up to protect my trucking business, Hale Freight, from theft and insurance fraud. I never thought the cameras would end up protecting me instead. But that night, they did. On the screen, Liana stood in our bathroom in silk pajamas. She turned her head slightly toward the mirror, lifted her chin, and practiced crying. Not natural crying, controlled, timed crying. She tested angles. She held her breath to shake her voice. She wiped a tear and tried again as if she was auditioning. I stared, unable to breathe. She wasn't crying about pain. She was practicing pain. The first thing I thought wasn't, why is she upset? It was, who is she rehearsing for? I tagged the clip, exported it, and backed it up. Old habits from running a freight company, document everything. Looking back, the signs were already there. She had become colder, more calculating. Our conversations shifted from normal things to finance, ownership, and hypothetical scenarios. She wanted to know how the business worked, who owned what my assets were worth. At first, I thought she was just trying to understand our life better. I was wrong. I watched the footage again and again. The way she forced sadness into her eyes. The way she lowered her shoulders like she wanted the camera to feel sorry for her. Then I noticed something worse. The camera angle she stood in front of was perfect. Too perfect. And it hit me. She knew where the cameras were. She knew how they recorded. She knew what to perform. For the first time, I felt fear. Not the fear of losing money or reputation, but the fear of realizing the person sleeping next to me was preparing for a battle I didn't know existed. That night, I wrote one line in my notebook. She isn't crying about us. She's rehearsing the end of us. The next morning, I acted normal. She poured coffee in her girl boss mug like nothing happened. But her eyes had a different shine. A rehearsed shine. A woman preparing for something she expected to win. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I simply decided one thing. If she was going to perform, I'd record the entire show. Over the next few weeks, the cracks in our marriage didn't just widen. They became calculated. Intentional. Liana's questions shifted from casual curiosity to quiet interrogation. She started asking about company documents, asset structures, loan guarantees, and what happens if something happens to you. She disguised it with a smile, but her eyes were focused, like a lawyer prepping for a deposition. One morning, she showed up at my office unannounced. She pretended she wanted to surprise me. But the surprise wasn't the visit. It was what she asked for. Can you print the business structure? The full breakdown? I just want to understand the finances. I should have said no. Instead, I printed them. And she circled the numbers that mattered most. Equipment values, mortgage balances, depreciation schedules. Not as a wife. As someone collecting ammunition. Later that week, she invited me for coffee. She talked about joint accounts, shared ownership, real estate investments. She wanted my signature on everything. But her tone sounded rehearsed. Almost like she'd practiced it. That night, under the kitchen camera, she triggered our first fight. It started small. She bought a $1,500 purse after promising we'd discuss big purchases. I brought it up gently, like any normal husband would. But she didn't respond like a normal wife. She waited until we entered the hallway, right under a camera, then raised her voice and turned the moment into a scene. "So now I need your permission to shop?" she shouted, loud enough to echo. Her lip trembled at just the right moment. It felt deliberate. At the time, I told myself I was imagining it. Stress. Miscommunication. Anything but the truth. But later that night, when I checked the footage, I found two files. 1. The original full argument, 23 minutes. 2. A trimmed version, 2 minutes and 1 second, exported by her. The trimmed version started exactly when my voice rose, and ended exactly when she cried. Everything before and after was removed, and she downloaded her version to our shared iPad. It wasn't a memory, it was a trailer. That was the moment my stomach dropped. She wasn't reacting to emotion. She was collecting evidence. Evidence she planned to use against me. Things escalated fast. I found brochures hidden in her drawer for a top Denver divorce attorney. Then a receipt for a consultation with Talia Rourke, a lawyer known for flipping marriages by using emotional abuse narratives. I saved the receipt in a folder I labeled red flags. Still, I didn't confront her. Instead, I watched. And soon, everything clicked. Every late-night walk she took, she was adjusting the camera settings, making them record only during the emotional middle of arguments from 1 to 3 a.m. Every question she asked, she was mapping my assets. Every tear she shed, she was training for court. Then came the worst discovery yet. Late one night, while reviewing archived files, I found an alternate feed labeled living room in her. It wasn't meant to be seen. But when I opened it, the room flickered to life, showing Liana and her friend discussing how to make me snap on camera. Her friend laughed and said, "Judges believe fear. Just get the right moments." Liana replied, "I'll cut the clips. I'll show the tears. He won't even know he's losing until it's done." And that was when I realized I wasn't in a marriage. I was in a production. A production she planned to premiere in court. The war didn't start with a fight. It started with paper. One Monday morning, I walked into the kitchen and found a large manila envelope sitting exactly where Liana used to practice her fake tears. Her handwriting on the front was clean, soft, almost gentle. "I need peace. Don't look for me." Inside were 14 pages that detonated my life. She accused me of emotional abuse, financial control, intimidation. She requested half of my business, the house, both vehicles, and lifelong spousal support. Everything she'd rehearsed, every staged argument, every trimmed clip, it was all there, woven into a perfect weapon. Reading it felt like swallowing ice and metal at the same time. I didn't call her. I didn't text her. Instead, I drove straight to Grant Maddox, the business attorney who had warned me weeks earlier to save everything, just in case. He read her accusations silently. Then he leaned back and exhaled through his nose. "They have videos," he said, "and she hired Talia Rourke. She's known for turning feelings into facts. If she's going for the full narrative, she'll crush you in the court of sympathy." My jaw tightened. "What do we do?" I asked. Grant didn't blink. "We don't panic. We don't respond emotionally. We build structure. You keep quiet. Let her perform. You collect truth." I handed him the encrypted drive with every log, every hidden feed, every metadata slip she forgot to erase. He held it like it weighed 10 pounds. The next morning, the hammer dropped. Her lawyer filed an emergency order. The court froze our joint accounts. I lost access to the business reserves. Payroll stopped. Operations stalled. 18 trucks. Dozens of employees. 3 state contracts. All paralyzed because of a lie wrapped in courtroom language. By noon, rumors exploded across the logistics network. Competitors smelled blood. Clients backed away. The Censura contract, the one I'd spent months fighting for, went silent. In my industry, perception is currency. And according to the rumors, Rowan Hale was an abuser. A man losing his marriage and his business. A liability. That night, Liana posted online under an anonymous account. A short message about a woman finding her voice after years of fear. She didn't mention my name, but she didn't need to. The comments flooded in. "You're so brave. Leave him. Men like that deserve nothing." I stared at my screen, chest tight, pulse dead calm. Grant called at midnight. "Do not respond. Let her build her story. We'll destroy it with timestamps, not tears. The truth will hit harder because she expects you to yell, not think." I closed my laptop and checked into a hotel near the airport. I brought only one thing with me, the drive that held the truth. At the small desk in that dim room, I replayed the audio file where Liana whispered, "The court will believe me if I cry at the right moment." I listened again. Then again. I opened my notebook and wrote. From now on, no emotion. Only evidence. Because this wasn't a marriage anymore. It was a courtroom war. And she had no idea I had already collected every weapon she planned to use. October brought clear skies and cold air, the kind that stings your lungs when you breathe too deeply. The courtroom was packed. Drivers from my company, business owners who'd heard rumors, even a couple of local reporters waiting for a headline. Liana walked in slow, dressed in soft gray, shoulders small, eyes dim like she hadn't slept. She trembled just enough. Every movement felt perfectly measured. She wasn't nervous. She was performing. Her attorney, Talia Rourke, opened the attack with a story about a woman trapped in her own home, monitored, silenced, afraid. Then the screens came alive with the videos Liana had edited, the same 2-minute clips she had spent months crafting. They showed me exhausted, frustrated, raising my voice. They showed her crying at the perfect moments. What they didn't show were the 20 minutes before and after. The context, the apology, the truth. When she took the witness stand, her voice barely rose above a whisper. She talked about fear, control, surveillance. The gallery leaned in and I could feel the judgment tighten around me like a noose. But I stayed still, hands folded, eyes forward, because she had forgotten one thing. I installed the cameras. I kept the logs. She never had the originals. Grant stood slowly, calm as stone. "Your Honor," he said, "before we discuss feelings, we need to discuss provenance." He handed the judge a packet, 47 login logs, 47 late-night downloads, 47 edits. Each timestamp matched the exact nights she provoked arguments. The room shifted. People stopped breathing. Then Grant called Dr. Lena Ortiz, a forensic video analyst. She spoke simply, almost like a teacher. She showed the court how the videos had been trimmed, where the audio dipped, where the splices jumped, where iMovie re-rendered frames. Talia objected twice. Both objections were crushed. Liana's posture tightened. Her eyes flickered, panic but small. Then Grant clicked the final monitor. Exhibit 27. The room froze. It was the hidden alternate feed, the one where Liana and her friend plotted the entire plan over wine. Her voice played across the courtroom speakers. "Just make him angry on camera. Judges love fear. I'll cut the clips. I'll cry at the right moment." Her friend replied, "Once you get a good lawyer, the rest is paperwork." For a moment, not even the judge moved. Talia tried to argue the footage was invasive. Grant didn't raise his voice. "Counsel has already introduced secret recordings as credible evidence. She can't disqualify the ones that contradict her narrative." The judge nodded. Then Grant looked at me. It was my turn. I stood and said only one line. "Your Honor, she forgot who installed the cameras." I handed over the AWS archive, the full, uncut recordings with server-side timestamps. The judge asked for headphones. She watched the real footage privately, every minute Liana had removed. The context, the calm, the apology, the truth. When she finally lifted her head, the oxygen returned to the room. Liana stared at the table, motionless. The judge announced a recess to deliberate. As we stepped into the hallway, Grant placed a hand on my shoulder. "Breathe," he said quietly. "You just won." But deep down I knew something. The real verdict wouldn't be about guilt or innocence. It would be about whether the judge believed the truth or the performance. The next morning the courtroom felt different. Quieter. Heavier. Almost respectful, like everyone finally understood the performance was over. Grant and I sat at the defense table while Liana and her attorney whispered sharply, their confidence cracked open from the night before. Judge Whitaker entered with the same calm presence, sat down, and read her ruling without drama, just facts. The plaintiff submitted altered recordings and made representations inconsistent with the complete evidence. Silence. "Her petition is dismissed in full." Another silence. Then the blow that shattered everything Liana built. "This court refers the matter to the district attorney for review of potential charges involving falsification and false statements." Talia froze. Liana blinked once, like her mind couldn't process what just happened. The gavel knocked. It was over. People in the gallery exhaled. Some shook my hand. Others just nodded in relief. Liana approached me slowly, eyes glassy but sharp. "You always know how to win," she whispered. "Even when there's nothing left to keep." I didn't respond. A bailiff stood near her, waiting to escort her for questioning. She walked away, small, quiet, no longer performing. That afternoon at Grant's office, I signed the documents releasing my accounts and restoring full control of Hale Freight. He handed me the court orders and said, "Stay quiet for a week. Reporters will sniff around. I'll manage it." I nodded. No victory smile. Just exhaustion that felt like it had been living in my bones for months. The next day, a small local headline appeared. "Business owner cleared by digital evidence."